That was a cool movie. Let's make it again. I saw Zootopia 2 last night, and I am pleasantly okay with what I saw. Although I will say I'm not that impressed. Now, Zootopia 1 is actually a really great movie. I thought it was really good at the time when it was released. It came out in 2016, surprisingly, and it's been 9 years since. And when they announced Zootopia 2, I was actually surprised. I didn't think they would actually do it considering how long it's been since Zootopia 1, but you know, Disney needs money, and sequels and continuations of very popular films seems to be what always makes the most money. And speaking of money, holy shit, this movie made $500 million in its opening weekend, give or take. I've honestly have never seen any other movie do this, especially animated. I'm pretty sure this is like the best a movie has performed. Now, who really knows, considering inflation, if that even makes a difference. I don't know if Avengers Endgame's Avatar is also brokenness, but either way, this movie is fucking big and it's explosive. It's made a lot of money. And yeah, people love Zootopia. I pretty much like it. I have a family member who really loves Zootopia, so I was excited to watch this. Though, like I mentioned, I wasn't really that impressed, and in fact, I was expecting a lot more from it. So, to start, Zootopia 2 takes place 1 week after Zootopia 1. It's literally like a few days later. Nick and Judy are partners in crime, and they're going off and doing all these crime and sting operations and all that, and they're getting very cocky because they think just because they solved one of the biggest crimes a while ago, they think they can take on any crime. They're also like not really listening to their commander-in-chief or leader or whatever, played by Idris Elba. So with them not really listening to their leaders, they're kind of in some situation where they need to prove themselves that they can be trusted and eventually wind themselves into another big crime situation type of adventure where a snake appeared in Zootopia, and apparently snakes and other reptiles or cold-blooded animals are just not allowed in Zootopia. I guess I really didn't know that because, like, you know, when you watch Zootopia, you're thinking, oh, it's Zootopia. Any animal like a zoo is allowed here. But no, they're seen as like this lower class of people who just are not really well liked. So this snake character played by Ke-Huy Quan, I know I've messed up his name before, but I pray that I'm saying it right. He plays this new snake character named Gary who's trying to steal this journal, and he wants to use this journal to prove to everyone in Zootopia that reptiles actually belong here. And Judy and Nick find themselves helping him out, and there goes the story. That's the adventure. If you've seen the trailers, you pretty much understand what's going on. This time, now Judy and Nick has to deal with the other cops trying to stop them because, you know, reptiles and snakes, they're not allowed. They can't be trusted. No one really likes them. So it's like, oh, Judy and Nick are helping out a bunch of criminals. It's a pretty decent setup. You know, it does introduce some new things about Zootopia that I didn't really know before, so that's pretty good. The movie also expands to new areas. We get to see a few new cities and environments, so that's all really good and nice. It's a very interesting story about like how these two trusted cops now have to prove themselves, and there's also this whole element where Judy and Nick has to trust each other because they even go to like partner therapy, it seems like. I believe that's what it's called, but they have to go to this to also prove to their leader that they can be trusted. And this also plays into the story as well with their trusting of each other type of thing. We get introduced to some new characters in the police force, specifically the Zebros that come around and just make, you know, some jokes, which I'll get into the writing later. And there's also these pig characters that are also cops, and again, it's possible these characters were in the background of the last movie, but I don't remember them. And I recently just saw Zootopia 1, but I don't really know. I could be wrong. There's also this new family of the Linux family. They're cats who are very rich, and they own the journal, and they claim to be like the people who created the walls that keep Zootopia, you know, separated but equal. And of course, there's some mischievous things around them. Now, a lot of what I have to complain about pretty much revolves around writing, so let's just start with one thing and it'll lead into another. I think mainly this movie's plot is a bit like just too safe and simple. Like it's good that we're expanding on Zootopia and finding some new information about it, but it really doesn't introduce anything like totally new to the, you know, universe as far as like themes go. I guess you could consider like Judy and Nick's relationship to be a whole like aspect, but they kind of went over that in the first movie, but in this movie they expanded upon it a little bit more. I just hope that in Zootopia 3, which by the way there is definitely going to be a Zootopia 3, possibly 4, I just hope in that movie they just don't go to more elements of like, oh, Nick and Judy have to trust each other again. Like, I understand them trying to teach a lesson about kids needing to be open and honest with people they care about or people in their lives. That's pretty decent. Like, that's definitely a really good thing that should be in kids movies, but this whole theme was kind of in the first movie, maybe not to an extreme amount, but it kind of was already. I didn't really find it to be the most funniest movie. Like, there was a few chuckles that I had throughout the film, but they weren't like I was laughing out loud funnies, you know? There was a lot of references to things. They made a Shining reference. They made Silence of the Lamb reference. They also referenced their other movies like Ratatouille and Tangled and Incredibles, I'm pretty sure. But they referenced their movies, and there was a few references in the first movie with other franchises, but they could have done something a little more. Really, the only reference joke that I like was the Ratatouille one. I thought that was just like, oh, if you know, you know. But like, they didn't really have to ham-fist the whole like, hey guys, you remember that pun we did about movies and how they're in Zootopia? Well, here they are again. It's like, you already did the joke. There was also a lot of comedic timing moments that really was not necessary. Towards the end of the film, when the main characters need to find the specific item they have, a certain character throws a Molotov, and it kind of just kills the whole vibe, and it's like, it wasn't that funny. There's just also a lot of moments where it's just like, let's stop being serious because we need to tell a joke that doesn't really land. And again, it's a kids movie. Obviously, I could get into whole kids movies things, but I'm not going to. Watch my video about kids movies and them needing to be a certain way. I don't really remember the children that were watching the movie when I watched it laughing all that much. In fact, they were more just trying to like get snacks and getting up a lot, but again, that's just my audience that I was around, so it's whatever. I guess this is mainly a spoiler, but not really. But the whole message of this film is basically the same message of the first Zootopia. And I don't understand after how many years we need to be told this lesson again. And I could get into another rant about how ironic it is coming from Disney to be telling this lesson again. But yeah, essentially this movie is trying to tell people and kids that racism is bad. And of course, that's not like a bad thing to teach kids, but again, you did that in the first movie. Why are we repeating jokes and repeating these themes and messages as the first one that came out 9 years ago? That's like the biggest thing that I have an issue with this film. It feels like it's just Zootopia 1.5. It was like a fucking Kingdom Hearts level or game. After 9 years, I just really wish that this movie had something more to really say with Zootopia. Also, speaking of animation, I can't really say that this movie really pushed the boundaries or push the needle when it comes with animation. Like, there were some cool shots here and there, which I will say was pretty impressive with the whole water pipe, and there was like a police chase scene that was pretty entertaining, as well as this new like southern type of village or city that they went to. Those are all some pretty cool shots, some pretty cool scenery, but animation wise, there just really wasn't anything that impressive. Now, I didn't want to talk about this much, but I'll just keep it brief. I feel like Disney knows about people's fixation with Judy Hopps. If you've seen the movie, and again, I'm one who doesn't really like anthropomorphic stuff like that. Like, I'm not into that kind of stuff, and if people are, that's them, that's their business, but I couldn't help but notice that there was a good amount of butt shots of Judy. Now, I'm not trying to say that this movie was completely sexualizing her, not at all, but I couldn't help but notice, and some people also apparently didn't notice, so maybe this is actually just me and I'm the messed up one or the weirdo, but I just couldn't help but notice that they just did a lot of these shots that really showed off Judy's figure. And again, it's just a kid's movie. It's not that serious. I didn't like have any crazy reaction to seeing it, but I was just like, huh. But, and again, I feel like most of these animation studios are all like secretly in the studios being like, hey, the audience really likes it when we draw this, wait until they see this. It's not a big complaint, but I did want to mention that. Its music was alright. They got Shakira back to make a new song, which is pretty decent, but I kind of like the first one better. I think this one is just fine. There was some other cool songs in the movie too. When they were being chased in the southern city, there's this like violin fiddle song that I really like, and I play the violin, and I just like that song, really. Nothing too memorable, though, with all the other song choices. I didn't really get anything from the voice acting. They all just did a fine job. There was a lot of people in this film who did a just fine job, really. Nothing too crazy. I didn't really get too emotional. There was one moment towards the end where Judy and Nick have a heart-to-heart conversation about their feelings for each other and how they care about each other. I can see, you know, like some people being like, oh, that's so sweet and touching, and maybe get a tear out of some people. Didn't really hit as hard for me, though. I just really wasn't that invested in the whole plot to, like, get that emotional, if that makes sense. Don't know if it's because this is an animated kids movie and I can pretty much predict what's going to happen, which I did predict a lot of things happening throughout the film, except for, like, the twist villain, which you'll find out who it is. But I will say, if you do care about Zootopia, then I think you will care about the story and you will find it fine. So again, just don't mind me. But yeah, overall, I really don't have that much to say about Zootopia 2. I'm okay with it being a movie. I'm glad that we got a continuation because I feel like Zootopia has a lot of potential as a new movie and a Kingdom Hearts world. But in my opinion, I feel like this movie should have come out a long time ago. Like, its animation doesn't really say, like, this is a 2025 film. And I cannot see this movie winning Best Animated Film of the Year, which... really, when has Disney won that? They probably won it recently, but still, I don't really see this, holding up in the Oscars. It's made a lot of money, which is cool, but it's just an okay sequel that kind of took a little bit too long to come out just to make this. And again, this is just me, and I really love the first Zootopia. I can't really say that I think this Zootopia 2 is that great. I really just like the first one better, if anything. There's a lot of repeated jokes, a lot of repeated themes and messages that they said. There wasn't like anything too new. It was just all safe, simple. It was just by the books, a good sequel. I just wish it did more, if anything. But there's nothing wrong with that. So for my score, surprisingly, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I can see this movie getting an 8 out of 10 if it really just had better writing and some new stuff to show people, like more new stuff and more new themes, not just a lot of the same thing. I really wish the villain of this movie would have been a lot better. We would have, learned a lot more about their characters, but you just can't really take anything that seriously in this type of movie. Like, they had some things that was kind of good, but I feel like they didn't do enough of it, of the new stuff. And then they just lacked in so many other areas where it's like, you did this already, or like, you did worse than you did in the first one. And again, a 7 out of 10 is not that bad, really. It just means that the movie was just good, just decent. Like, I will say this is a good movie, and it's an almost pretty great movie, but not really. It's almost great. That's why I gave it a 7.5. But yeah, that's just what I think. We'll see what happens in Zootopia 3 because, yeah, stay at the end of the film. There's going to be a sequel, or there's going to be like a post-credit scene that'll pretty much explain what the next plot will be about. And I also have a feeling they're also baiting like a TV series because there was this event that happened where some criminals got loose. So there's more than likely going to be a TV series of Zootopia. I don't know. I'm not really right on all of my predictions, but I predict that's what's going to happen. But yes, Zootopia 2. That's what I gotta say about it, and yeah, everyone have a nice one.